Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, we are students from State University of Makassar from English Education Department. We make this video in order to complete our task in Introduction to Literature subject with our lecture is Mem Mardia Nasta SS SPDM Hum. Now in this video, we are Group 6 want to present about the Renaissance period. But before all, let us introduce ourselves. So here are our members. In this period, English population doubled, prices rocket, trends followed, and social loyalties dissolved, and new industrial, agricultural, and commercial frames were first state. Railways hit an all-time low in the 1620s, and social relations were plunged into a state of fluidity from which the merchant and the ambitious lesser gentleman provided, at the expense of the aristocrat and the laborer, as satires and comedies current from the 1519s complain. Behind the Elizabethan folk for pastoral poetry lies the fact of the prosperity of the enclosing sheep farmer who sought to increase pasture at the expense of the peasantry. Tudor platitudes about order and degree could neither combat nor survive the challenge posed to rank by these artifices. The position of the crown, politically dominant yet financially insecure, had always been potentially unstable, and when Charles I lost the confidence of his greater subject in the 1614s, his authority crumbled. Meanwhile, the huge body of the poor fell ever further behind the rich, like the pamphlets of the Thomas Harman in 1566 and Robert Greene in 1561 and 62, as well as Shakespeare King Lear in 65 and 66, provide glimpses of the horrific world of the vagabondage and crime, the Elizabethans' biggest unsolved social problem. The Tudor era was a tumultuous period in English history. It was the time of the Reformation and Renaissance. From Henry VII restored peace after the War of the Roses. He saved money for the royal treasury and sent Cabot to Newfoundland. England also was upheaval as a result of Henry VIII's break the trunk in Rome, remarriage, and struggle to produce an heir. This famously saw Henry VIII have 6 wives and contributed to the dissolution of the monarchy. His heir, Edward VI, was young. His reign was short, but saw the beginnings of a Protestant state emerge. The subsequent accession of his sister, Mary, an ardent Catholic, saw a period of counter-reformation. Her nickname was Bloody Mary because of the huge number of people she murdered to return England from its Protestant regime back to the Catholic faith. Throughout the reigns of the both and into that of Elizabeth, religious issues dominated domestic policies. Elizabeth's reign attempt to deal with this through a religious settlement. The Elizabethan era saw these issues manifest themselves through plots relating to Mary, Queen of Scots. There followed Spanish Armada. Succession remained an issue throughout the Tudor period, and Elizabeth died childless.
There are 70 characteristics of literary. 1. Wonders of love and beauty. Renaissance has been the age of wonders. It also has a love for beauty. This was the time when the strong foundation of religion began to shake. Science, art, and literature began to rise up. 2. Humanism and religion. This was the time when the humanism witnessed its own rise. Humanism is a belief that humans are good by nature and they have something to offer. Rise of merchant class. Social development was another key feature of the age. Industrial towns started growing rapidly and it gave employment to the thousands.
Magic and religion. Political peace and stability is the key characteristic of this age. Queen Elizabeth its administrator, and under her demonstration, England made progress rapidly. Religious serenity. Now the mind was free from all kinds of fears. The man was no more feared by the persecution. The man was very creative and engaged in creative activity. This religious peace paved the ways for literary activities. Patriotism. Sense and feeling of patriotism is another characteristic of the English Renaissance. This age is considered to be the age of patriotism. And the most specific famous genre is drama and poetry, which give great names to the English Renaissance. For example, Spenser's first epic, Wyatt and Surrey, stepped into the genre of poetry.
Next, the famous writers and his works in Renaissance periods. First is William Shakespeare. He was the greatest English poet and playwright. He was born in Stratford-on-Avon, west of London in 1564. Shakespeare had a great talent for drama and poets. His works are 37 dramas, several narratives, and 150 sonnets. One of his most famous works is Romeo and Juliet, which are among the best works in Renaissance literature. Written between 1591 and 1595 until first text in 1597 and published in English. This drama tells the story of a young couple who have fallen in love with each other but are hindered because their families are against each other. Next, Edmund Spenser. The greatest poet before Shakespeare was Edmund Spenser. Spenser was born in London in 1552. Spenser's most famous masterpiece is The Fiery Queenie, a well-known and longest-running allegory in English literature. He planned to write 12 books, each book telling a story about a knight who represented one of the virtues, but could only finish 6 books. Each knight symbolizes holiness, simplicity, purity, friendship, justice, and modesty. Books 1 until 3 were first published in 1590, then republished in 1596, together with books 4 until 6. The Fairy Queen was written in the form of a stanza, which became known as the Spenserian stanza and one of the most beautiful forms of poetry in English literature. That's all from our group about the Renaissance periods, and if we have any mistake, please forgive us, and see you next time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.